What is going on, Ram fans? Mark from Rams Up here. Welcome back. And man, OTAs are underway. Well, they're going to be off to Maui for that mandatory minicamp before you know it. And great news and good vibes coming out of Woodland Hills right now, huh? Rookies showing up, and I love to hear how the veterans are taking some of these young guys under their wings, especially Tyler Higbee and Terrence Ferguson. No small deal. What am I going to do this episode, though? We're going to get through some notes, and then I'm going to restart my surveying of position groups across the NFC West. Talked about the tight ends, running backs, interior defensive line, a couple others. And this episode, we'll get into the safeties. How do these safety groups stack up against each other? Now, I have to tell you, you're going to have to take my word for it. I'd never mislead you, but I had already recorded the opening to this, and I had reminded everybody. I was reminding all you Ram fans that the one area, the one position that concerns me on this roster, solid roster up and down, but the one thing that concerned me was the backup tackles. And I had argued for bringing back Joseph Noteboom back, and a lot of you Ram fans did not like that idea, but I just kept on probably weighing in on this too much. The Rams need to be concerned about their backup tackles, unless there's something that maybe they feel better about Warren McClendon and KT Leviston and some of these other guys better than we realize, AJ or Curry. But then today they signed David Quessenberry, a very experienced tackle. He spent most of his career as a backup, 35 years old, lots of experience, 6'5", 310. He is out of La Costa Canyon High in Carlsbad. That's the same high school that Kevin O'Connell, the coach of the Vikings, went to. And I did a double check to see if they maybe played together, but O'Connell came just before him. So they probably missed each other by about a year or two. But went on to San Jose State. The Houston Texans drafted him in the 6th round in the 2013 draft. He went on to play for the Bills and Vikings, mostly a backup, but he did start 17 games for the Titans in 2021, 30 starts overall in his career. And I already see this coming. Every time I go to look him up, I'm thinking Dan Quessenberry, the great pitcher. I believe he was a relief pitcher in the 80s, I think. Now this guy, David Quessenberry, name is spelled slightly different. I think they're pronounced the same, but just be prepared. I'm probably going to be calling him Dan, and I may be mispronouncing his last name, but it's David Quessenberry. So what's left on this roster to be concerned about? Not a whole lot. Now, I don't know if Quessenberry is the answer, but the Rams obviously wanted to, pump up the competition there. I thought they were a little thin as far as the backup tackles go. So let's see what Quessenberry can do. But the other thing I might be concerned about, I don't know, there's not a whole lot. Maybe, the depth at the safety position. I think we're going to be okay there. Not a big concern, but overall, not a lot of issues with this roster. Is Chris Paul going to elevate this linebacker group? I think he will. Edge rushers were looking great. I don't know. There's not a lot to be concerned about as far as I'm concerned, except maybe, some, we just have to hope that our secondary answers a call and plays at a really high level, because we don't have any stars there. We don't have any future Pro Bowlers, just a bunch of guys, a lot of flexibility in that group. Hey, I'm going to talk about the safeties here in a minute anyway, so I'll save my talk for that, but my safety discussion for that. But roster rounding out, hopefully Quessenberry maybe can put my mind to rest a little bit as far as the backup tackles go. Hey, interesting data point shared on Yahoo regarding, I guess it was Over the Cap's Jason Fitzgerald pointing out that the Rams retained 77% of the roster from last year. And that points out two facts at least. One, the Rams have a lot of guys on rookie contracts. And number two, they're pretty happy with where their roster was at the end of last year. So No reason to burn down the house, that's for sure, like you're seeing up in San Francisco. So Sean McVay and Les Snead pretty content and just kind of rolling it through to next year, adding some pieces, obviously, Devontae Adams, Nate Landman, guys like that, and another draft that looks to be pretty solid. And one other thing I wanted to talk about, this Protector of the Year award that Andrew Whitworth had a big part in instituting, starting this coming season, handing out an award to the best offensive lineman. And Andrew Whitworth and Orlando Pace will be on that selection committee. Is that what we're calling it? So 2 of the 6 guys on that board or committee are guys that made their mark with the Rams. Yeah, Whitworth with the Bengals too, but I think he's going to be remembered mostly for his Super Bowl run with our Los Angeles Rams. Now, I was going to talk about a player who wore number 48 because an upcoming episode was going to be episode 748, but then Ian and I got on board last night and we didn't get to the guy I wanted to talk about. This is episode 749, so I'm going to cheat a little bit. We are going to talk about a player who wore number 48. Now, 100 or 200 episodes ago, I talked about the great Hall of Fame linebacker Les Richter. This time, I'm going to talk about a running back, and you're probably not going to be able to figure it out until I give you his name. A guy that ran for over 8,000 yards and 65 touchdowns. But only 177 of those yards came with the Rams in the last year of his career. So he had 0 TDs with the Rams, just that 177 yards. Can we take credit for him? Can we take credit for this guy as another great Rams running back? No, probably not. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about number 48, Stephen Davis. Made his mark with the Redskins and the Carolina Panthers. Came over to the Rams for that one last season, and went back to the Carolina Panthers and signed so that he could retire as a Panther. Stephen Davis, number 48 for our then St. Louis Rams. Before we start talking about the safeties as promised, I wanted to share this. I meant to share it when we were talking about the Rams schedule and making those predictions. And I went through the Rams record against each of their opponents this year, and they actually stacked pretty well overall against their opponents. Clear winning record over the Falcons, 49 wins, 30 losses, and 2 ties. Done really well against the Saints as well, 45 and 35. A little bit underwater against the Panthers, 10 and 13. And they have handled the Buccaneers pretty well, 19 and 10. And, they have 3 really big playoff wins against the Buccaneers. So 3 of the 4 teams in the NFC South, I wouldn't say they've dominated, but been done pretty darn well. And surprisingly, it's the Panthers they've had slight issues with. In the AFC South, haven't played these teams as much, obviously. 4-1 over the Texans, 8-6 over the Titans, 5-1 over the Jags, and the Colts, a team they played a lot back in the 1960s, 1 game under 500. You could call this even. 22 wins, 23 losses, and 1 tie. Now, the 2 teams that the 2 first place teams that they play, because they're a first place team, the NFC North Lions, just 2 games over 500, 45 wins, 43 losses, and a tie. And the Ravens, 3 wins and 6 losses. So haven't done well against the Ravens. Not a lot of data there to measure against, though. And then, of course, the Eagles, another team, they're slightly under 500, 20 wins, 25 losses, and a tie. And we talked about the Rams-Eagles history several episodes ago, and it's been pretty streaky. There was a time where the Rams were just dominating, and then there was a period where the Eagles have had their way with the Rams. 49ers, long history with them, just 7 games under 500 for as many games as they have played, pretty close to even, but 49ers do have an edge. Rams, 71 wins, 78 losses, and 3 ties. Seahawks pretty close to dead even. Rams 27 wins and 28 losses, and Rams have a nice edge on the Cardinals, 51 wins, 41 losses, and 2 ties. Now that's a lot of numbers, probably too much data for a podcast, but the bottom line here is overall, Rams have fared well against their 2025 opponents. Overall, 379 wins, 340 losses, and 5 ties for a 53% winning percentage. Now, if you double up the teams that the Rams play twice, that percentage drops slightly. But overall, it's a data point that favors the Rams. That's all I'm trying to say here. So let's get into this discussion about the safety groups in the NFC West. We will start with the Cardinals. Budda Baker, man, this guy is so good. Second round pick in 2017, 5'10", 195, two-time first-team All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler. What surprised me about him statistically, only 7 career interceptions. That seems low to me for a guy that, plays as much as he has and at a very high level. In 2019, he led the league with 104 solo tackles, the emphasis on solo there. And he is paired with Jalen Thompson. He is out of LA, La Serna High School, a 5th-round pick out of Washington State in 2019, and he earned the job, eventually beating out Deontay Thompson. So those two will be paired as the starters. Pretty good pair. I mean, anybody paired with Budda Baker, this is going to be a decent group. The backups, we have a little bit to learn about. Dadrian Taylor Demerson and Joey Blount came over from, I think it was where did he come over for? He was a free agent pickup from the 49ers. So Taylor Demerson, a 4th-round pick in 2024 out of Texas Tech. So I can't speak to the depth, but man, Budda Baker, let's just say it, he's the best safety in the NFC West. Great presence in that locker room as well. Great leader of that defense and just a flat-out great player. And Jalen Thompson, he's pretty decent as well. So you can't have any complaints if you're a Cardinals defensive coordinator, what you got on the back end there. Depth, maybe not the greatest, but hey, I think that's true of most of these NFC West teams, as we shall see here in a second. The next team we will talk about, the Seattle Seahawks. What a great tradition they have at the safety position. Now, Julian Love, he was a 4th-round pick of the Giants in 2019, 5'11", 194. Seattle signed him as a free agent in 2023, and then they gave him a 2-year extension last year. So they're very happy with his performance. Started all 17 games last year, a total of 109 combined tackles, 79 solo, 12 pass deflections, 3 interceptions. Now, Kobe Bryant, remember, he was a cornerback originally, and they've been drafting cornerbacks and losing safeties, so they converted him to a safety and paired up with Julian Love. I don't know if Kobe Bryant is the answer there. He certainly doesn't live up to the tradition they've had there. Guys like Quandre Diggs, Cam Chancellor. Remember, they had Earl Thomas, and you go way back, Kenny Easley. So they've really had a great tradition at the safety position up there in Seattle. And this draft pick of theirs, Nick Amenwari, he's eventually going to get a start back there. Now, how they use him is going to be up for discussion because he's a big safety, right? He's a big guy. What does he come in at? Comes in at 6'3", 220. He's a 2nd-round pick this past draft. And he's just going to be a fabulous player. How do they use him? That's the question. If he's on the back end, he's going to be a strong safety. But, what do you do with Kobe Bryant and Julian Love? You're going to basically probably pair up Love and Amenwari. But what is more likely going to happen is they're going to use him as a 5th, 6th defensive back, maybe even play a little bit of linebacker. He's very versatile. So it remains to be seen how they use him. But he was a guy that I thought I'd been very happy if the Rams drafted him. Ian talked about him quite extensively when we talked about safeties in this draft. I think he's going to be, I don't know if he's going to be a star, but he's going to be a pretty darn good player. And then there's Jarek Reed the second. He was a 6th-round pick in 2023. So with the addition of Amenwari, I think they're pretty well situated at the safety position. Just a question of how he gets used, and if Kobe Bryant is part of the answer back there, he's going to be okay, but nothing to get too excited about. I think this is without Amenwari, it's a passable group. With him, it depends on how they use him. Now the 49ers, Jair Brown, 3rd-round pick in 2023 out of Penn State. He lost a starting job temporarily to Mustafa, actually, but now he's back as a starter along with Malik Mustafa. Mustafa, a 4th-round pick last year out of Wake Forest, tore his ACL. He's probably not going to be ready to go at the start of the season. Who knows when he'll be ready? I don't want to be guessing on that. And the backups, Richie Grant and Jason Pinnock, 2 free agent pickups. Grant started 32 games for the Falcons over 2022 and 23. And then Pinnock started 32 games the last 2 seasons for the Giants. So what do you have to say about this group? Very questionable, I think. If Mustafa's healthy, feel good about him. Brown has been, I think his performance has been up and down. At times has looked really good. At other times, like I say, he lost his starting job at one point. So there's some questions there about Jair Brown and this group overall. Not what you'd hope to have for a team that has Super Bowl dreams. Some questions there at the safety position, in my opinion. And then there's the Rams, Cameron Curl and Cam Kitchens, the apparent starters. They're good enough, nothing to get too excited about. But Cam Kitchens, a little bit questionable play early in the year, and then he made some big plays later on. And so there's hope that he could develop into a really good safety. And Cameron Curl, steadying force. He's not going to be making any Pro Bowls anytime soon, but I think most Ram fans are content with this group. Could it have been improved? Absolutely. But we'll have to roll with these 2 guys, and with a really good pass rush. And overall, we'll talk about the cornerbacks later on, but a lot of guys that can play at a pretty good level, just no standouts. And then there's Quentin Lake, who is he a safety? How do they use him? If you consider him as a starter, which could end up being the case, I feel a little bit better about this group. It's really tough to evaluate this Rams safety group because Chris Shula is going to mix and match, and there will be different groupings out there. Star position guys, who's playing that? Is Jalen Ramsey going to be playing the star? Is Quentin Lake going to then slide back to safety? But, overall, an okay group. And then Jalen McCullough is the ace in the hole. He looked really good at times last year. It's a matter of how many snaps he gets. But if he had to come in as a safety, as someone went down, I'd feel okay about that. Again, not a great group, but overall, not too shabby either, especially when you factor in Quentin Lake, who technically, he didn't miss a snap. Is he a starting safety? Yeah, I don't know. We can go round and around about that, but overall, just a decent group is how I would quantify the Rams safeties. So what are my takeaways in the NFC West? The 49ers, I'm just going to say, yikes, I'd be really concerned if I were them, if I was a 49er fan. Now, when Mustafa gets back, they're probably going to be okay. Mustafa and Brown would be a decent pairing, but Brown up and down performance is what I have read. So a little bit scary there. You want consistency and reliability out of the safety position, and I'm not sure Brown brings that. And depth-wise, yeah, nothing to get too excited about. The Seahawks, it's really not a great group, but here comes Nick Amenwari, and if he establishes his presence there, however he establishes his presence, he's going to, one way or another, It's going to may bring memories of Cam Chancellor, right? Cam Chancellor, the return of Cam Chancellor, that type of player on the back end there. And he could make life miserable for Rams running backs at times. In Arizona, Butta is the best. He's the best safety in the division. And that's all you really need to say about the Cardinals. As long as they have someone of marginal talent to pair with him, they're okay. If one of their guys steps up and plays really well, could be a special group. And the Rams safeties, they're just good enough, is how I would put it. No one on this team is going to get Pro Bowl votes. No one in the secondary is going to get, a top 100 player recognition. But as a group, not too shabby. Good enough for this defense to take this defense where they need to go. As long as the defensive line and the pass rush continues to perform like they did last year, I'm okay with this safety group. And Cam Kinchins, seems to have, and McCullough too, seem to have a knack for making big splash plays and big moments. So you can't say enough about that. That is my take on the safety groups in the NFC West. I'd put the Cardinals at the top due to Butta, Baker, Rams and Seahawks, probably pretty even right now, but Emenwari could be a difference maker. And then I put the 49ers at the bottom of this group, safety groups in the NFC West. And we'll get on to another group. Maybe we'll talk about, I don't know what we're going to talk about next. I'll have to give it some thought. Maybe we'll get to the tackles, the left and right tackles. That'd be a good place to go next. Out here from Rams Up.